So we covered the 15 stories of Stardust the Super Wizard, created by Fletcher and published by Fox Feature Syndicate from 1939 to 1941. Now we're going to take a look at the 14 stories of his next most prevalent character, Fantomah, Mystery Woman of the Jungle. Fantomah, created by Fletcher under the pseudonym Barclay Flagg, appeared in Jungle Comics issues 2 through 15, starting in February of 1940 and published by Fiction House. She was the second female superhero in comics. The first was Magician from Mars, published by Centaur Comics, and the third was Wonder Woman from All American Comics, later to become DC. Fiction House started publishing Jumbo Comics to feature Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, a female knockoff of Tarzan. She was so popular, it was soon followed by Jungle Comics. Jungle Comics starred a Tarzan knockoff named Kanga in all 163 issues of the comic, and 20 issues of his own self-titled series. Fletcher actually had a feature in the first issue of Jumbo Comics called Taboo, Wizard of the Jungle, under the pseudonym Henry Fletcher, and we can take a look at that story first. Alright, we're at comicbookplus.com. I select the public domain comic books. Now I scroll down to Fiction House. Right there. And now I scroll down to Jungle Comics. Not Jumbo, Jungle. And we'll take a look at issue 1. Cool, right? I'm gonna zoom in. Taboo, Wizard of the Jungle. Pepe and the Scood Riders. Deep in the jungle reigns a man with a sixth sense. According to legend, Taboo once saved an old witch doctor from a terrible jungle death. And in return for the favor, the witch doctor gave Taboo an extra sense which made him supreme in Jungle Land. The sixth sense has made Taboo's instincts so keen that he excels over all animals. He can run faster than the deer or antelope. Come on, Dick, you're a way behind. He can climb among the trees more agilely than any ape. I'm ashamed of you, Z. He can stalk through the dense grass more swiftly and more quietly than even the Black Panther. Shh, Green Eye, you're making too much noise. He can leap higher than the leopard. You won't reach it, Spot. He can soar through the wind with more speed than the eagle. He can dart through the water more swiftly than the shark. Good heavens, a jungle village destroyed. I wonder who did it. Slave raiders, robbing and murdering jungle people, men, women, and children. They have killed the jungle-born. They shall soon learn the power of jungle justice. He studies the tracks. Then he climbs to the top of a tree, and with a clear voice that is heard all over the jungle, Taboo shouts a strange call. Hey, you guys! The jungle creatures mysteriously understand the wizard's words. By the light of torches, the fleeing slave raiders stumble slowly through the jungle foliage. Part of the punishment shall be jungle torment. The slave raiders begin to feel the jungle wizard's torment. I'm getting too jumpy to rest. I can't stand my own shadow. This jungle mist, it's strangling me. My blood is on fire. I'm being swallowed alive. I'm shaking to pieces. I hate Mises to pieces. Good Lord, our torches are going out. We'll be in a fine mess. Our matches are wet. Watch your step here. If you slip, you'll land in that pool of slime. It's 200 feet, too. Suddenly, a huge tiger appears in their path, and apes swarm out of the trees. But before they can fire, a volley of thorns shoots out of the jungle, and the raiders' arms are deadened. Holy mackerel, what happened? My arms are useless. Slowly, the killers are driven to the edge of the cliff. Taboo raises his voice and speaks a strange tongue. Alaka Tabu ni Papahen Yal. Oh my lord, what is that? An earthquake! The wind increases and a sudden blow knocks the raiders off the cliff. Lord have mercy! As they reach the shore, the monsters rise from the grass. Holy smokes! Did you notice the size of those constrictors? Did I? Let's kill him! We'll tear him to pieces! Your wizard days are over. Taboo makes a quick motion and turns into a gorilla. Oh my soul! The gorilla speaks. You who murdered the jungle-born shall meet a jungle fate. As the raiders listen in horror, the gorilla turns into a jungle tree vine. I must be going nuts! The tree vine reaches out with its tentacles and gradually clutches them. We're doomed! Then, in a flash, the jungle tree vine and the men all disappear. And in their place stands Taboo. It's the justice of the jungle. And the old witch doctor calls Taboo to his hermit cave. You have done well, Taboo, so I shall give you another sense. A seventh sense. And you will be in touch with the invisible spirits of the jungle. So I totally forgot that Jungle Comics issue 1 story of Taboo was actually in my book. I don't know why I went to the iPad, but because I did, I showed you how you can read the stories yourself. Those and many more. In fact, Taboo's stories and adventures would continue under other writers and artists all the way until Jungle Comics issue 117. So that is a lot of stories, but they're not by Fletcher Hanks. Because in Jungle Comics issue 2, he debuted Fantomah, Mystery Woman of the Jungle. Moala the elephant, sensing its end is near, wanders off to the elephant's graveyard, being chased by these ivory hunters. On the way, she is met by this strange woman, and she leads Moala through the Arch of Death. But the ivory hunters are hot on the trail. I can hardly breathe. Notice how the dogs are acting. What happened? They ran off. I wonder what killed them. Then from out of the darkness of the bamboos, oh my soul, this floating skull. Let's get away from here. Wait, here's Moala's tracks. He's gone through the arch. Look, Moala's sinking in the quicksand. It must be the elephant's graveyard. We must get those jewels before he sinks. Never mind the jewels. Look at the pile of ivory. Every millions of dollars. Oh my gosh. How are we going to get all of this out of here? Oh, who is that? What in the world? And she's changed back to a woman. You are partners. Partners in death! Good Lord, what do you mean? He who visits the elephant's graveyard shall never go out alive. And she changes again into skeletal form. What are you doing to us? Walk on those old elephant robes. Get the jewels before he sinks. These jewels are worth millions. Why should I share them with you? Now it's all mine. Whoa, I'm sinking. Help, quicksand. The elephant's graveyard is still a secret. Well, that was quite a story. Well, Fantomah is weird, but the story wasn't as out there as Taboo. Let's see how it continues in the next issue. Jungle Comics issue 3. Fantomah, the most marvelous woman ever known, has such a remarkable insight that she can see all that ever happens in Jungle Land. By using her strange powers, she has discovered 2 white men planning to rob the jungle of its most sacred treasure, the jewels of the Great Avenger. So, another jewel heist. So there's a plane scouting out this ancient city of gold and sacred jewels, looking for a place to land. I wonder how we can reach the city of gold. We must be careful, the city is guarded. We'll have to use our compass. Oh no, not the compass. At last, there it is. The keen senses of the native guard detect the presence of white men. Fantomah draws nearer to the city. Confound it, I believe the guards have heard us. Look at that city, all the golden jewels. We must take a chance, for the reward will be worth it. All right, we'll drive them off with our Tommy guns. Watch yourself, those arrows may have poison on them. The machine guns belch death among the primitive men. The guards are ready, and a volley of native spears and arrows fill the air. But the white crooks are unable to endure the fierce onslaught. We'll have to figure out another plan. I have it. We'll use our injector and spread the green death plague among the guards. We'll catch a sacred mandrill and inject the animal with germs. Yes, and then we'll lead it to the city gate and spread the plague. Fantomah listens to their plans. The native guards become panic-stricken when they see the mad mandrill frothing from the green death plague. Come on, straight for those jewels. Turn this way. Great guns! Look at all that wealth! Meanwhile, the sacred mandrill is mysteriously cured and stands in a protective aura. The aura takes definite form. It's Fantomah. Who is she? Never mind her, get the jewels. Her face is turned into a skull. If you ignore my warning, you shall pay the penalty. The marauders, paying no heed to the warning, are suddenly encased in a terrifying aura. They change rapidly. Fantomah wills it. What the heck did they turn into? In the next instant, the jewels are mysteriously returned to their places, and the guards come back to their stations. Fantomah whisks the transformed men to their plane. You have defiled the jungle's sacred city, so you shall fly back to your own land as objects of disgrace. Fantomah wills it. Now go! Crime doesn't seem to pay. You're right, because now we're like green plant people or something. The heck? Sucks to be us. So that issue was even weirder. Jungle Comics issue 4. In a far-off laboratory, a famous scientist is working on a secret serum of great power. The serum is at last perfected. Now we'll be able to take apes and give them brains superior to any man's. I'll make a race of beastmen with the intelligence enough to conquer the world. Through my serum, I can control them all. Thus, I shall become the head of a great world empire. We must find the huge Gorgon gorillas. I want a safari organized to take us into the Gorgon gorilla region. Fantomah's flying in. From out of the dense forest comes a group of huge gorillas, and they captured 4 of them in a trap. And the injections have begun. The gorilla gradually changes expression. He begins to stare at the scientist like a slave admiring his master. Is that a common stare? Did slaves admire their masters? Meanwhile, Fantomah approaches. This white fiend must be stopped! She really makes note of people being white, as if it's different from her. I mean, even in skeletal form, she's still white. You have gone far enough, you fiend! You shall die a jungle death! Who was that? I don't know. Gorillas begin appearing from all directions and come straight towards the cage. Good heavens! You must tell them to stand still while I inject them. Yes, master. One by one, the gorillas are injected with the serum. Give me more serum, Mac. In 10 days, I'll have a super race. Mac, fearing Fantomah's warning, has decided to return to Mamba. Is that a dance? That dirty deserter! I'll fix him! Crack! From now on, I am your high commander. Take these rifles and capture or kill every man, woman, and child. On to the attack! Yes, master. Hey, this is the beginning of Planet of the Apes. Apes with guns. Oh, I want to see them on horseback. You fiend! You shall die by your own evil creation! Fantomah whisks the scientist through the air. Down below you is your demonized army of gorillas. Fantomah releases him. He falls in the path of the bloodthirsty army. Doctor, your time has come. And your serum too shall be destroyed. Oh my god, it's an arm and a leg and a safari hat. Fantomah uses her jungle restorative ray and the apes become normal. Go back to your region and stay. The end. Well, I didn't get apes on horseback. Jungle Comics issue 5. Fantomah, propelling herself on powerfully developed thought waves, glides swiftly over the silent jungle. Suddenly, she sees the brilliant light of a shooting star heading for the earth. Mundor has seen it as well. I'll have to watch over that clever fiend. The next day, Mundor wanders over to the glistening mass of porous star rock. Holy smoke, look at the size of those skeletons. I wonder what gave them such tremendous size. Great heavens, it's the plant I've been hunting all of my life. The super vitamin plant. No wonder these skeletons are so large. And hey, I can use these eggs. I can use them to conquer the jungle and enslave all its inhabitants. I shall make myself a tyrant ruler and a merciless dictator. They've hatched. Eat from the vitamin plant and grow. Grow while I hypnotize you. Your hides become bulletproof and bomb-proof, and you are unable to bleed or feel the effects of any gas. First, I'll attack the palace of Prince Abdul and capture his great wealth. And as the lights go out, coming through the jungle. Better run through the jungle. Straight for the palace rush the giant asteroid reptiles under the hypnotic influence of Mundor, and the great walls begin to crumble. This is like Godzilla attacking the city 14 years before Godzilla. Suddenly a flash appears over the palace, and the residents begin to rise into the sky. And before the reptiles can reach the palace, all the buildings rise into the sky. You must call all of them off, you fiend, or you shall die a jungle death. Who are you to tell the great Mundor what to do? Leap into the air and bring down his treasure vaults. As the first reptile leaps, a blinding flash greets him. The other reptiles become terrified. Come on, leap for the treasure vaults, leap! High into the sky leap the great reptiles. The demolished structures begin to fall to the ground, but the treasure vaults containing the world's greatest wealth remain floating in the air. Mundor, you are doomed! Rush on to the great city, we'll get these vaults later. Look, the end of the world! But just as they reach the gates, they meet Fantomah. Return to your asteroids. Your hypnotic power over them has been destroyed, Mundor. Come back! Come back, I tell you, and conquer the city! Come with me, Mundor. You shall have a kingdom all of your own. Come with me, Mundor. You shall have a kingdom all your own. You wanted to be ruler of the jungle? Instead, you shall have a whole star to rule. What are you gonna do to me? You shall eat the super vitamin plant and become large enough to rule the reptiles. Mundor is deposited on the surface of the asteroid, and the giant reptiles join him. Suddenly, the asteroid begins to move. Farewell, Mundor! The asteroid quickly rises. You shall have the reptiles to yourself, Mundor! Far out in space, Mundor is now the sole human on a floating asteroid. And Fantomah restores the palace buildings to their former condition, and then vanishes back to her secret observatory. I have a feeling other Jungle Girl stories weren't quite as bizarre. Jungle Comics issue 6. Fantomah watches the growth of a certain white boy, now grown to manhood, who is reared strangely in the heart of the jungle. Years ago, he was floating helpless on a tropic lily pad, and then dragged ashore by a giant snake that became so fascinated by its unusual possession it began mothering the child. Thus, in the coils of the great jungle constrictor, the child grew to healthful boyhood, and under the watchful eye of his jungle guardian, the boy grew into manhood. The young man was very kind to all the jungle creatures, and the animals and natives all learned to love him. But one day, the young man found attractive-looking berries near a stagnant pool, and he ate some. They were the mysterious drug berries of the unexplored Red region. His nature and character immediately changed, and a hateful expression came over his face. Grrr! He began dressing himself in terrifying headgear and painted his face and body hideously. The terrified natives were soon calling him the Jungle Demon. And the animals began hating him for his cruelty, but the great constrictor always protected him from the fury of their attacks. Thanks, Powerhouse! I must crush my enemies! He gathered roots and herbs and made a discovery that gave him a supernatural power. Dark magic! In flies Fantomah. This demon must be stopped. I will take wealth from all the native temples and drain the jungle rivers of their emeralds and diamonds. People rush out of the large villages, but he keeps some of these natives as slaves and works them to death. I'm a rich man now. I shall destroy the city and build a castle on its site. Powerhouse, come to me and destroy it all. You have gone far enough. Look at the people you have stricken, and now you seek to destroy the sacred city? Never! Call off the snake or I shall destroy both of you! Oh, the warning worked. He stopped attacking the city, and he brings the natives back to life, and uses the stolen wealth he took from them to employ them to drain the rivers for more wealth. Why should I pay them when I can keep it all to myself? So now they're mad at him because he doesn't pay. What is he? Is he good? Is he bad? Is he good? Is he bad? What's going on here? Kill them all, Powerhouse. Okay, so he's back to being bad. So in comes Fantomah. Your devotion to the jungle demon has made you a menace to the jungle. Fantomah releases a paralyzing ray and the snake becomes helpless. So the natives rush in to kill the hated demon. Enraged, the madman uses his secret jungle magic. Alika Bablu Ne Papanya. That's very similar to the last spell I incanted. Alaka Tabuni Papahenyal. And the superstitious natives fall to the ground in agony and terror. You have ignored my warning. Now, come with me. Fantomah whisks him through the air. Eat these leaves. Then Fantomah restores the natives back to normal, gives them all the emeralds and diamonds. I'm assuming the emeralds are green, which means the diamonds are brown. Meanwhile, the demon, eating the secret leaves, gradually becomes his normal self. And Fantomah appears again. Throw away your headgear and wash off your paint. As he was before he came upon the drugged berries. Where's my Powerhouse? Fantomah reunites them. From now on, you both shall dwell entirely alone. So back to good again, but by themselves, so they can't harm anybody if they go back to being bad. Whatever. Jungle Comics issue 7. Fantomah spies on some diamond mine robbers. They take slaves and put them to work, while the actual owners of the mine fly in but are shot down by these anti-aircraft guns. And Fantomah suddenly appears. Stop, you murderers! Who is she? Blast her to shreds! Bang, 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 bang! You cannot harm Fantomah! Fantomah changes form, and now you shall feel the secret power of the jungle. Fantomah suddenly whisks them into the air. You are going to the secret pit of jungle horrors. Down into the pit they sail. Holy smoke! She deposits them on the ground. I shall now form you into one man. Now you are all alone, the lonely thief and murderer in the pit of horrors. These creatures of an unfound world shall be your masters. Oh my lord! Fantomah suddenly disappears. I'm in a tough spot now. Well, there's a trail. It may lead out of here. He makes a dash for the trail, but he comes to a dead end. Good lord. Suddenly from behind him appears a gigantic paw. The man, in fright, loses his balance. Oh! But just as he's about to crash, a small whirlwind appears and breaks his fall. The wind blows him into a cave, and soon he finds himself in the middle of White Cobra Cavern. The deadly cobras close in. Oh! And after they strike, Fantomah whisks him out of the cave. She suspends his corpse in the air. One of the masters gives the pit an order. Moya! A great claw comes from out of the side of the pit, and it seizes the man's body with a single finger and draws him into the rock wall to disappear forever. Meanwhile, the jungle has become normal and the native village is at peace. Fantomah returns to her secret observatory. That is the most bizarre death I've ever seen. You gather a group of people and fly them into a pit, turn them into one person, scare them off by some unfound world creature, chase him with a giant paw down into a tornado that throws him into a cave to be killed by snakes, have his corpse flown off again to hang in the air and be grabbed by another giant claw and pulled into a wall. Just shoot the guy in the head. That's so weird. That's so weird. Jungle Comics issue 8. Fantomah reads the thoughts of a strange white man on his quest to a temple in the center of the boiling mud pit, for it contains the royal headpiece of a very famous chief who once ruled all the jungle tribes. If I can get my hands on that headpiece, I'll become rich, and the natives will pay a fabulous fortune for its return. He cuts down a tree and heads across to the temple, over the boiling mud. Fantomah suddenly appears. Go no further. Get out of my way. As he grabs the headpiece, the mud pit begins to boil violently. I almost didn't reach the shore. Fantomah changes form. Prepare for a jungle fate. The natives hear the roar of the boiling pit, and the thief gives them a ransom note. But as the mud begins to overflow, the natives leave their jungle village. The chief calls a conference. The jungle will be ruined. We must get the headpiece back into the temple regardless of the cost. Fantomah appears before the chief. Pay this man nothing. Then she darts for the plane. There's a flash above it, and Fantomah begins controlling the plane with super willpower rays, and she brings it down in front of the surging mud flow. The robber tries to escape with the headpiece, but he's soon faced by hundreds of spears. Good gad! The mud finally overtakes him and Fantomah appears beside him. She whisks away with the headpiece and heads for the temple. Mercy, help! Where she puts it back into its place, and the mud begins returning to the pit. But with it goes the white man, and he is finally drawn into the pit. You shall enter the underground realm. What do you mean? The man quickly disappears. He suddenly finds himself in a cavern. Strange creatures step out of the darkness. Fantomah appears again. You shall become one of them and eat mud and fire for the rest of your days. You shall never see the jungle again. Farewell, you fool. And Fantomah returns to her jungle home. Eat mud and fire. Fire. Weird stuff, man. Jungle Comics issue 9. Another white man flies into the jungle to capture gigantic royal panthers to use in his plan to wreck civilization. And in flies Fantomah. I must watch him closely. She knows the white man, Mark Lord, a very wealthy but dangerous man. He sends in an army of trappers to capture the panthers, and he oversees a fleet of bombing planes. You must stop this. The jungle animals belong here. Attend to your own business. Fantomah changes form. I have given you warning, fiend. The captured panthers are loaded onto this fleet of ships, and they sail for New York. Simultaneously, the fleet of bombers fly in and drop their bombs. The bombs explode and the buildings are wrecked. The ships dock and 50,000 giant royal panthers are turned loose in the city. They're bigger than cars. They're eating people. Now we'll wreck the subways. eyes. The enraged Fantomah suddenly appears above the bombers. Hey, she's in New York City. Her form, obscured by a brilliant ray, immediately fuses the planes into flame. Then Fantomah swoops down to the Panthers. With an exertion of her magic willpower, she stops their wild and vicious stampeding, and then whisks them into the air. Next, she grabs an infuriated Mark Lord, come with me, and whisks him into the air as well. And she flies all of them back to the jungle. You can't do this to me! There comes a flash, and Mark Lord turns into a caveman, and she leaves him with the Panthers. Does he really need to be a caveman? They're gonna eat him within seconds. Why did he have to be a caveman? And she flies back to her secret observatory. Fletcher Hanks was insane. Jungle Comics issue 10. From here on out, Fletcher Hanks is only working on Stardust and Fantomah stories for the rest of his career. So we have giant flaming claws menacing a village, and Fantomah sees someone peering out of a slit in a building. That is the clever Angel Eyes. Years ago, his mother and father were mysteriously killed in the jungle, and now he is taking his revenge on the jungle. He's learned how to make chemical men and give them life, but they're completely invisible except for their giant flaming hands that are transparent and colorless, reflect no light, and cast no shadow. Okay. And he sends them out to kill everything in the jungle. Fantomah suddenly appears. Angel Eyes, your parents died by accident. A storm blew them off a cliff. I don't believe you. They were murdered. You must believe me and stop these chemical men. Never! Besides, I no longer have control over them. Well, then I'll stop them myself, and you will pay an awful penalty. First, I'll destroy your laboratory. You destroyed everything! Come with me, you fiend! And she whisks him into the air, takes him to the top of a tall dead tree, and hangs him there. Remain here until I return. You can't do this to me. I've already done it. The flaming claws are continuing to rampage the jungle. Imagine there is a giant invisible chemical man connected to every one of these claws, but suddenly the claws lose their power and the flames vanish. Fantomah is exerting her superiority by concentrating strong willpower waves on the invisible chemical man, and soon the claws are hanging motionless. Then she darts to all parts of the jungle and rapidly destroys the power of all the flaming claws. Now she directs them all to that tall, dead tree. Angel Eyes. Great guns, they're coming this way. When you reach the dead palm, I shall give you your power back. The chemical men begin surrounding the tree, and the claws flame again and flex with power. Good Lord, they're coming after me. Ah, help! But as he nears the ground and the flaming claws grab out for Angel Eyes, Fantomah suddenly takes their power away again. Do no more. The coward has died of fright. I shall dispose of him myself. So he's dead. A water spout suddenly forms above them, and the body of Angel Eyes rises into the vapor. Then under Fantomah's magic, the cloud disappears. Fantomah guides the chemical men to the edge of a cliff, and by using her analytic ray, separates the chemicals and returns them to their natural element. They flow down the cliff like a waterfall. Then she uses telepathy to let the natives know the danger has passed, and they smile. Life goes back to normal, and she returns to her sanctum. What's with the water spout? Jungle Comics issue 11. Thousands of natives have suddenly gone blind, and they're plunging helplessly to horrible deaths. Fantomah realizes it's the dreaded Scarlet Shadow that drives people blind. 2,000 years before, a similar shadow had plagued the jungle and driven the natives blind. And now the curse has come again. I must stop it. Her penetrating gaze soon discovers a strange apparatus on a high hill. A telescopic instrument is focused on the sun. The concentrated light is reflected from a huge disc and passes through a cylinder to the open portions of the jungle. Fantomah catches sight of the hideous creature operating the Scarlet Shadow apparatus. Good gracious, he's the immortal mummy of ancient Egypt, Old Arco, the super scientist of long ago. As Arco adjusts the cylinder again, more natives are smitten by the Scarlet Shadow. My hour of triumph has come. I shall turn the jungle into an empire for all ancient Egyptians. And Arco begins resurrecting mummies from their cases in distant museums. I must find some way to destroy his diabolical Scarlet Shadow. Arco. Meanwhile, Arco applies his ancient wizardry, and throughout Egypt, mummies begin to rise from their tombs. Finally, the sky above the jungle is darkened by the approaching forms of transmitted mummies. As they land, Arco greets them. Welcome to your future empire. Arco gives an ancient command, and the mummies rush upon the blind natives. Capture them all! Desperate hand-to-hand battle follows in different parts of the jungle. Fantomah, enraged by it all, swears vengeance. That fiend shall pay a terrible penalty. Fantomah changes form. Arco, you are doomed to a jungle death. Bah! I'm immortal! I cannot die! Fantomah issues her wild call. And suddenly the mummies are surprised by a jungle blitzkrieg. Sparing the blind natives, the wild beasts attack the intruders. Arco grows furious. That meddling woman must be destroyed. She has caused the final death to my slaves. With perfect aim, he turns the Scarlet Shadow on Fantomah. That'll fix her. That fiend! Fantomah caught off guard. That fiend! Under Arco's accurate control, the Scarlet Shadow follows her. Has she met her match? Beginning to go blind and realizing her plight, Fantomah summons all her willpower. The Scarlet Shadow wavers. What has happened? As Arco tries to adjust the apparatus, Fantomah reverses the rays, and Arco becomes blind. Help! Using his transmitting powers on himself, he rises into the air, and Fantomah follows. High into the clouds they go, but Fantomah exerts her willpower, and down goes Arco. Down to his doom in the mouths of alligators! Could be crocodiles. Fantomah uses her restorative ray to get the natives smiling again, and they smash the apparatus. I guess she'll never meet her match. Jungle Comics issue 12. An army parachutes into the jungle and Fantomah reads their thoughts. They are members of a powerful fifth column. Hey, a fifth column like from Stardust the Super Wizard. Will she make her own sixth column of Fantomah-powered kids like he did? They make plans to put in military air bases in Africa and South America, round up all the natives and put them to work in chain gangs. At dawn, the planes arrive. It looks like their plans are working. What is Fantomah waiting for? Oh, there she is. She flies high into the air and exerts her secret power over certain jungle beasts in both Africa and South America, and then exerts her power over the atmospheric elements to create a peculiar storm cloud. The planes fly up into the storm cloud, and great cloud arms form like the tentacles of a giant octopus. Fantomah flies in an army of lions through the air, and all the men parachute out of their planes only to be attacked by the lions in mid-air. So the men die by plunging to the rocks below. Their planes crash. Somehow the lions, I guess, land gently? I don't know. They seem to be fine. And these giant monsters rush upon the plane wreckage to tear apart any possible survivors and then go back to their secret lairs. Secret lairs. Oh no, here come the lions. They're still flying. They just fly around. Well, that's it. That's the end of all of them. All the invaders are gone. They've felt the power of the jungle. The cats can return to their habitat. But before Fantomah departs, she calls upon the clouds once again for a lightning bolt to destroy the military bases, and the jungle becomes normal. Jungle Comics issue 13. The Vaheens are coming! Those tiger women of Wild Moon Mountain! Riding their trained beasts with savage fury, the tiger women are sweeping down towards the jungle. We'll destroy all the other women in the world! Kill all the women! That's kinda cool. With all the other women out of the way, men will be at our feet. Fantomah prepares for action. I must check them. The women of the first village are soon wiped out. Suddenly the trunks of onrushing elephants appear on the horizon. From out of the trees under Fantomah's control soar giant vultures. Tiger-hating lions bound through the jungle grass. Swinging from limb to limb, armies of apes head for the native villages. And huge constrictors glide silently towards the tigers and their savage riders. Then the tiger men, sensing danger, douse themselves with glowworm oil. And their forms immediately light up in a ghost-like glow. Now we're safe. In spite of Fantomah's control, the jungle animals are stricken with fright and pause in their tracks. And the Vaheens ride into the next village, killing all the terrified native women. Even the baby girls are destroyed. Fantomah becomes enraged and she turns blue. She exerts her powerful will upon the invaders and their glow vanishes. Now we're in danger. The elephants and lions come. The Vaheens must escape. But there's the apes and the constrictors and the vultures creatures! Blue Fantomah swoops in. You are doomed! You will be taken back to your mountain to meet your fate. Why is she blue now? Under Fantomah's wizardry, the peak of the mountain suddenly bursts open, and from out of the center, a supersized moonstone begins to rise, shining like the moon. Our wild moon is moving. That means death. If our wild moon leaves, we'll soon die. Yes, she just said that. The Vahines are dropped into the moon. This is the end of us. They're stuck on the outside of the moon. A moon that lived inside a volcano? And Fantomah sends the moon, with all the Vahines stuck to it, off into space, and it crashes into Mars. Blue Skull Fantomah turns back into a pretty girl, and now the jungle is safe. The end. What the heck? Jungle Comics issue 14. Fantomah uses her powers to keep an eye on Zomax, the demonized marine scientist seeking revenge on every jungle animal. You see, years before he had been hunting a lion, and even though he shot him, the lion didn't die before ripping his flesh to the bone. That's when an elephant came over and tossed his body in the drink, and a constrictor scooped him up and squeezed him until an ape attacked. It dragged him back to its lair and tortured him. So now he's scarred and disfigured and crippled, but he managed to escape. He returned to the city and became old and bitter. I'll get them. He comes back and sets up a powerful device. It concentrates the power of the moon onto the sea near the jungle coast and creates a tidal wave. The natives and the animals are scared. In comes the wave of tremendous size and crashes upon the jungle. Blue Skull Fantomah makes her appearance again. Shut off your machine, Zomax. Not until every animal is dead. Fantomah exerts the full power of her will, and the wave turns back to the coast. And she directs it towards Zomax's house. He's like a mixture of Tomax and Zaymot. He escapes into the jungle, gets on his plane, tries to fly off, but Fantomah overwhelms the mind of Zomax, and she flies him straight into the tidal wave. You have destroyed many innocent lives and native homes, Zomax. Now you shall die by your own creation. He comes to his senses, grabs a parachute, and jumps out of the plane. But the wave just engulfs him on his parachute and his hut, and then subsides into the ocean. And Fantomah returns to her pretty self. And we end with an advertisement for a junior guitar, just for you. And now we have the final story, Jungle Comics issue 15, Fantomah, Mystery Woman of the Jungle by Barclay Flagg. The final Fantomah story by Fletcher Hanks. Her vigilant eye is attracted to a native named Org. Org possesses hypnotic powers with a jungle drum and has a secret ambition to rule all Jungle Land. While trying to devise some scheme to achieve his ambition, Org accidentally discovers a group of giant hunting spiders in an unexplored valley. I can use those giant spiders to help me conquer the jungle. He's planning to charm the spiders with his jungle drum. I must stop this horror. Fantomah watches as Org begins his weird drum beating, and the spiders soon respond to its power. Now I have them under my control. I'll direct him to the jungle cities. They soon overcome the elephants and sting them to death. Stinging spiders. Wonderful. Now they fly into the village. The destruction is complete, and they move on to the plains. The jungle plains, not airplanes. And head for the walled city and leap over the walls. People die by the thousand. I'll soon own everything. As he gloats, the raging Fantomah appears. In her rage, she begins to change form. Org, your time has arrived. She's lost her face. And the change is completed. She's back to being blue and skull-faced. But look, there's like a middle form. He is evolving. Too bad he couldn't evolve anymore because this is the end. Oh, I wonder where he could have gone if he had just hung on for several more years. I miss your work, Fletcher Hanks. Fantomah exerts her willpower and Org loses the control of his drumsticks. The spiders immediately become timid. They fly back to their valley and Fantomah confronts Org. You won't do this to me! She quickly repulses him with a super superiority beam. A super superiority beam! And Org collapses. Then she whisks him into the air and drops him into a jungle grass floating upon the lake. Nope, it's a river. Then she rises the grassy mass into the air and whisks it to the valley of the spiders. And then the spiders fly into the grass. And she reduces their size so they're harmless. What? So does that mean that Org is still alive? Well, the jungle goes back to normal and so does Fantomah, and she bids them farewell. What would we do without Fantomah? Just like how Stardust the Super Wizard continued with stories made by other creators, and we looked at all of those before, Fantomah continued on from other creators as well. She continued to appear in Jungle Comics issues 16 through 26 under writer W.B. Hovius and artist Robert Pius. But she was no longer a superhero, and now she was just your typical Jungle Girl. And then she continued in Jungle Comics issues 27 through 51, still under writer W.B. Hovius, but now artist George Appel, as an ancient Egyptian princess revived to protect the jungle. Fantomah, daughter of the pharaohs. You know, I thought I wouldn't like Fantomah as much as I do Stardust the Super Wizard, but I actually like her more. I like her stories more. The insanity is way over the top. The people she faces are just as crazy, if not more crazy than her. This was a mind-blowing series, and I loved it. Until next time. And then she continued in, 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 and then she continued in Jungle Comics issues 27 through 51, still under writer W.B. Hovius, but now artist George Appel, as an ancient Egyptian princess revived to protect the jungle. Fantomah, daughter of the pharaohs.